Lucozade Energy, energizing Gambia.
Welcome back to GRTS News. The leaders of Liberia, Guinea and Ivory Coast have held talks on means of ending the political crisis in Conakry against the backdrop of recent clashes that left some 9 people dead. And South African police officers charged with the death of a Mozambican taxi driver, Mido Marcia, appear in court for another bail hearing. For details of those and other stories, let's turn to the CFI report.
Liberian counterpart Ellen Johnson Sirleaf met with President Alpha Conde for talks on ending the political crisis in Guinea. In an effort to ease tension, Conde announced that legislative elections in Guinea scheduled for May 12th would be postponed in order to have more time to prepare. And the Guinean court has decided not to subpoena opposition leaders following a demonstration in Conakry that led to clashes in which 9 people died and 200 others were wounded. In Burundi, talks got underway between the government and the opposition on Monday. Several members of the opposition that had been in exile following the 2010 post-election violence returned for the national dialogue. The talks were organized by the United Nations. The opposition is demanding the release of political prisoners and the right to hold rallies across the country. On Monday, nearly 150 migrants that were drifting at sea arrived on the Italian island of Lampedusa. Most of the migrants were from Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia. They made the journey in a small dinghy, and it almost ended in tragedy. The Italian Coast Guard received distress signals from the vessel on Sunday. The migrants are then found by the Coast Guard and taken to Lampedusa. They are considered to be in good health. On Monday, South African police officers charged with murdering a Mozambican appeared in court for the second day of a bail hearing. Prosecutors read out the autopsy, which revealed that the 27-year-old taxi driver, Mido Marcia, had been placed in a cell naked and covered with wounds and given no medical assistance. Mido Marcia was handcuffed and drugged behind a van. The images were caught on camera and shocked the world. Marcia then died in custody after his arrest.
The people of the Falkland Islands have voted overwhelmingly to remain a British territory in a referendum widely hailed by independent observers as free and fair. Whilst Argentina maintains its claims to the territory 31 years since the Falklands War with Britain, the UK government welcomed the move and urged all countries to respect the wishes of the islanders. Details in this report.
On Monday night, people in the Falklands celebrated the fact they are British. 1,672 people voted in a referendum on whether the territory should remain under British rule. 99.8% voted yes, and only 3 islanders voted no. International observers who'd travelled to watch over the elections found them to be free and fair. For the British government, the goals of these elections was to highlight the principle of self-determination of the people from the group of South Pacific islands who were under pressure to join Argentina.
The fact is that the Falkland Islands may be thousands of miles away, but they are British through and through, and that is how they want to stay, and people should know we will always be there to defend them.
In 1982, a war had opposed Britain and Argentina. 255 British and 649 Argentinians had died. This, in turn, led to the fall of the dictatorship in Buenos Aires. Since then, Argentina has continuously claimed the territory, which it calls the Malvinas, and it has not belonged to them since 1833. A campaign was organized in Argentina in the hope of gathering 1 million signatures to open up a dialogue between London and Buenos Aires.
Only local residents can hold a referendum. More than half of the Malvinas Islands residents are not local, but rather descendants of the British colonials. So this referendum is meaningless.
For years, the United Nations Special Committee on Decolonization has been requesting talks on the Falklands, but London has continuously ignored this call.
Well, the 115 cardinal electors have been locked in the Vatican's chapel as they decide on the successor of Pope Benedict XVI, who stepped down last month. And North Korea has threatened to wipe out a South Korean island as its first target as tensions between the neighbors continue to escalate at an alarming proportion. Those stories in this World News Roundup.
115 cardinals attended a special papal election mass in St. Peter's Basilica Tuesday ahead of a conclave to elect a successor to Pope Benedict XVI. Thunderous applause broke out when the Dean of the College of Cardinals, Angelo Sodano, referred to Benedict XVI, who stunned the world by resigning abruptly last month. Sodano also told the cardinals to work to build up the unity of the church. In the afternoon, the cardinals retired to the Sistine Chapel, where they will be cut off from the outside world inside the Vatican walls until they choose a new pope. As tension remains high between North and South Korea, Pyongyang broadcast images of a well-orchestrated rally against its South Korean neighbor and against the United States. North Korea has threatened nuclear attack in response to UN sanctions. Meanwhile, South Korea and the United States began military drills on Monday. The North criticized the drills and also threatened to wipe out the South Korean island of Banyang as its first target. The presidents of Iran and Pakistan inaugurated the construction of the Pakistani section of a gas pipeline linking the two neighbors in spite of U.S. threats of sanctions. Iran hailed the fact that work on the new section was going ahead despite U.S. sanctions against Iran's oil and gas sector imposed over its controversial nuclear program. When completed, the pipeline, which is expected to cost $7.5 billion, will deliver 21 million cubic meters of gas a day to Pakistan.
Well, time now to take a second break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned in. Welcome back, and time now to take a quick look at the weather report courtesy of the Central Forecast Office.
The source assures us of a continuous flow, and from there, everything follows. And for those of us who know what the River Gambia stands for, understanding its sustainability in all aspects of life is easily confirmed. The River Gambia provides nutritious delicacies as food, while it provides its wildlife a balanced ecosystem. This river, as a sanctuary, is committed to its inhabitants' needs without ceasing. And as you travel along, all these values are replicated in one company, Elton. Just like the River Gambia, leads in its commitment to values that matter most. Elton, championing the vision for a new generation.
Hello and welcome to the weather segment, beginning with a summary of the weather during the day today, followed by our forecast. The Gambia this afternoon was mainly warm but slightly hazy. And for what will follow, let's start with a look at the satellite image captured at 16:30 hours, indicating the spread of medium-level clouds over parts of the continent. And over the Gambia tonight, we're expecting conditions to be mild. Tomorrow morning,